Meeting come to order, please. I'd like to welcome everyone to the May 2023 meeting. This time I'll turn it over to Vice Chair Lee.
Will you join me in prayer? Dear Heavenly Father, in the busyness of the day, we take this time to just pause and thank you for the many blessings. Thank you for this county. Thank you for the leaders that we have and the staff, the ones that give so much to make things better for our county. We ask for your wisdom tonight, and again, we thank you for all our many blessings. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Will you rise to join me for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Let's see, at this time the agenda, I think we have a walk-on, is that correct?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, if the board would consider it, I would like to enter item D under action items number 2, discussion and possible action regarding the contract for the Newton Grove Rescue Squad Incorporated.
Okay. D under 2. Okay, could I get a motion for the approval of the agenda, please?
I move that we approve the agenda as amended.
Second. Second. All in favor, raise your hand. That's passed unanimously. All right. First item is our update on the North Carolina Department of Transportation. Mr. Jackson.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. It's good to see you all again. Each quarter, it's nice to catch up with you a few minutes. I got a little information from you. In the last meeting, there was a lot of construction questions asked, so I checked with my counterparts, but I'm going to start with the maintenance part first. In the sense of maintenance, we're ending our budget years in July 1st, so we're wrapping up, or June 30th, so we're wrapping up right now. Sampson County maintenance, and our planned maintenance was 357 shoulder miles of shoulder and ditching that was completed throughout it, and it was completed last Friday with the use in conjunction with contractors, in conjunction with my staff. The pipe replacements are on schedule ahead of planned resurfacing. The 24 fall let resurfacing, which is it's almost completed planned phase of planning. It's set to be submitted in June for a November let. The 2024 spring let resurfacing and planning phase will be submitted in November for a April let. It's just in planning phase at this time. Our 2024 planned maintenance begins July 1 of 2023. We have the same expectations of about 350 plus miles, with probably 10 to 15% of that being on primary routes of shoulder miles of shoulder clipping and ditch line positive drainage throughout the county. We're trying to work, we have reactive, what we call point repairs, but we're trying to work in some nature of a system, what we call sections, driving through the county. We hope to pick up the pace. The goal is to complete your round of the county in 7 years. Right now, our pace is somewhere around 9.5 years. So we're hoping that additional funding will come through, and we'll continue to do those, push those planned maintenance activities. On the construction side, I did get an update from my counterparts in the residence office of their NC-24, where all the barrels are, is estimated completion date. It was a revised contract time of the 30th of June, 2023. Currently, they're replacing the final asphalt lift, the thermoplastic pavement markings and signal mast arm poles at Site 1, which is at Sunset Avenue. They're working on the punch list items at Site number 2, which is the interchange right there at 421. We do have 2 active bridge replacement projects. There's low impact single span, double span bridges. One is Beeman Woods Road, and estimated completion date is the 10th of this month. And Rufus Wells Road with an expected completion date of the 20th of June of this year. We do have some upcoming bridge replacement projects on Mini Hall Road. We call it Bridge 122. It's at the Carroll Store Road intersection. It's estimated to start at the end of this month, at the 29th of May, with a completion. date of December 8th is estimated completion date. We have one on Bridge 194 on Keener Road. That's the bridge between Church Road and Sharecake Road. Estimated start date is it's in August of 2023. We don't have an exact date. It's not set to contract, but not available yet. Wrights Bridge Road, bridge number 72 is near Rileytown Road Bridge that is it's near the intersection. Estimated start date is October 2023. And bridge number 22, which is the 701 bridge over Bill Swamp near Garland, is between Norris Road and it's right at near Norris Road. There will be an on-site detour, but that project is estimated to start January of 2024. Those are the bridge projects we got going on. On the resurfacing front, we have a chip seal preservation that is active at this time. It should be completed by June 1st of 2023. We have 4 active resurfacing contracts. That is very unusual, but there are timelines. We were encouraged due to the workload for the asphalt companies to extend some of these contract times up to 18 months. But on the resurfacing, it's what I would say DC 130. It's the one with 13 where the repairs are made on 13 between Spivers Corner and the county line, and NC 50. It's expected to be completed June 14th of this year. 312, which included 903 from the county line to 421 on the Duplin County line, is expected to be completed the June 14th. 312, which is not, I'm sorry, that was 14th. The 312 with 903 is expected to be done at the 12th of this month. We have 2 of them that are active now, which is NC 24. NC 24 is the Southwest Boulevard, MLK, that ramp section of primary route. And there's all of these resurfacing routes have secondary routes in the phase, but there are a lot of them. I don't want to take up all your time reading them all out. But it's estimated to start the 5th of this month of June. And then the last one is, there's resurfacing various secondary routes, but we've got some preservation work we're doing on 701. From North Boulevard, when you get on the ramp right there, when that construction is, there's some fracture in that pavement there. We're gonna make a repair there. At 242 at Roseboro, at the crossroads, at the park, there's some failure of pavement there that we're gonna get repaired. And on NC 24, if you're going out of town off of 701 Business and on the Warsaw Road side, where that pavement had fell against the edge of pavement, against that curbing, we're going to make those repairs on that. So that sums up our construction on resurfacing. Mr. Collins, you probably got the email about the always stops. Okay?
Yes.
So I can tell you, these are they're funded, and these are all the ones that are going to be done between now and July 1.
And I have shared that information with the board.
Yep. So do you want me to, y'all already know, do you want me to read them out to you, or you good?
It's fine.
Okay, so you're good with reading them?
You can read them. Go ahead and read them in the record.
So there's always stop and install at NC 55 and Warren Mill Road, one at 242 and Harnett Church Road, Rapid Street, 1320 Bearskin Road and Zoll Church Road, NC 55 and Green Path Road, 242 at High House Road, but y'all have seen the email. So those are the ones that are fully funded, and they are in contract now through this fiscal year. July 1, there'll be new funding in the next list. I don't have the long list. Traffic Services has those. They just supply them to me for any maintenance activities that we need to do prior to their arrival. That's all I have for you today. What can I do for you?
Any questions? Ms. Jackson?
Mr. Jackson,
Yes, sir.
on 421, some of the neighbors are concerned that the roads seem to be finished, but there's still barricades on those.
You talking about at the interchange?
Yeah.
It's gonna be done at the end of June. They're still doing some work there. There's some punch list items. When we do it in our construction, when we do walkthroughs with them, and there's the odd and end stuff that has to be readdressed, and until they get done with all that, they won't pull all that activity. So I think the date was, about the 30th of June. There is no reason for us at this time to think that it's going to extend the contract. All those barrels should finally get gone, so.
And how about Lisbon Street? They fill a pothole, but you tear your car up.
I'm sorry, I missed the first
Lisbon
part.
Street.
Which one?
Lisbon Street.
Elizabeth or Lisbon?
Lisbon.
Elizabeth Street. So, yeah, is that, there's several, Lisbon and Morris here on my list coming up. Is Lisbon Street, which one is that one?
It goes by City Hall,
Yeah.
Well, that's Lisbon, right?
Lisbon,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, so it's on contract, or it's going into contract this coming season for resurface. That's a mill and fill contract, it's a 30-foot pavement, yeah, so. But but that being said, as far as it being resurfaced, if you or anybody else, if there's a pothole, we wanna know about it. Those are point repairs, and I want to go and I want to handle those. Those are immediate repairs that we are, need to address daily.
Question.
Yes, sir.
When you say fully funded on your four-way stops, what does that include?
The signs, the advanced warning signs, the new markings on the pavement. If there was any, some of these places, I didn't have to do any recently, I had to do some extension of cross-line pipes to widen some of those intersections and stuff. It was some things they sent to us. But it's generally it's the signs themselves, the advanced warning signs. Prior to, we put the VMS boards down the road each way, you know, everything that our costs are associated with those projects.
But nothing as far as lighting of any kind?
I'm not aware of any of those, locations, having any overhead or flashing lights. I'm not aware of that, but I can't say that that's not the case in some of them. I don't generally see it, but that just does not mean that that's not there.
It's just a concern we're getting in my district with some of the four-ways we put in, that people are not really going along with the proper procedure, we'll say, as far as slowing down, coming from old directions that they're used to, and we got a little concern with some of our citizens, and I'll get with you on that later, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure, absolutely, no
Thank you.
problem.
Any other question? We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank y'all, thank you for your time. Y'all have a good day.
All right, so we're up to item 2, the water shortage response plan revision. Mr. Ross, Mr. Turlington.
Good afternoon, how are y'all? I was going to give a quick update just for overall system too, since I know it's been a little while since I've done that. But I want to give a quick one is 2 projects are currently in construction with the SCIF and ARPA funds. That'd be the Clement area and the elevated storage tank projects. Y'all are probably starting to see some action happening at the Clement area, as well as the elevated storage tanks in Roseboro and Midway. A third project, the pre-construction meeting will happen this month, and then it will, I guess the actual construction date will be set this month, and that's for the Roseboro bypass, Highway 24 bypass water main. We did have bids received for a procurement bid of 2 booster pump stations this month. However, I had to pull that from the agenda for this month because only 1 bid was received, so we are re-advertising that, and bids will be open later this month. And so next month, I'll bring the actual award letter for y'all to have. Other than that, a bunch of projects. We have 2 other water main extension projects that are in permitting, and once those are out of permitting, we will bid those out. And that includes the majority of all the system improvement water mains and the residential water mains that we had planned initially for the SCIF and ARPA funds. Ivanhoe Water System, the survey continues. We've done wetland delineation now down there, so there's some flaggings for some of the streams and stuff that we have to bore under, and the design will actually begin this month. So we're anticipating design to start this month and survey probably to finish up toward the end of this month, early next month. And then lastly, a funding application for the Mintz and Sutton Town area water system expansion was sent to the state on Friday. So that's in there, and we should hear back in approximately 4 months for what the application, if we receive an award letter or not. So I guess any questions on that before I go through?
Does anyone have questions? Okay, I think we're good.
Okay, and then for the water shortage response plan, so that is just something the state requires every 5 years, a minimum of every 5 years for us to update per each district. And it basically is just a guide for the county to inform their customers if the state issues a water shortage throughout the state. There's different levels that are, I think, in the documents that you have, and different definitions of what defines those levels and when to call those into place. Currently, there are 3 separate districts in Sampson County for water: District 1 in Clinton, District 2 Plainview, and District 2 Dunn. And we have to have a separate water shortage response plan for each one of those. A lot of it's depending upon where the water's coming from. For your Plainview district, we're actually getting water from Dunn, so that's surface water, so it's different procedures for that versus the groundwater. But for each one of those, we have to have a new resolution to adopt the water shortage response plan. So unless there's any questions, I'm going to recommend that the county make a motion to adopt the resolutions for the water shortage response plans.
Anyone have questions? Okay, I move we adopt the resolution approving the revised water shortage response plan for District 1, District 2 Dunn, and District 2 Plainview. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, raise your hand. All right, it's unanimous.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. All right, we'll go to Mr. Causey.
Mr. Chairman, what we want to do is talk to you just a minute or two about the budget process. And as everyone knows, that process has been well underway for several months, and lots of people are doing lots of work in getting ready to do the budget. What we hope, the ultimate that you will do is decide that we can deliver the budget on Monday, May 22nd, 2023 at 4:00 p.m. in the administrative boardroom. And the reason we're doing that is this room has a commitment for that afternoon. If this is something the board would do, I don't know that you have to make a motion, Joel. We can just wait till the end of the meeting and vote to recess to reconvene on May 22nd. However, it may be helpful for us to generally discuss the process that we're talking about, Mr. McLean, from there to the end, so you know what's coming. First and foremost, by doing it in May, one of the things that we have historically done, certainly for the last 5 or 6 years, is we try to line up to have the public hearing at the June regular board meeting. And in doing that, Ms. Stephanie will have to have a notice in the paper that is published 10 days in advance for both the general budget as well as the economic development budget. Once we do that, then it's up to the commissioners to have as many budget meetings or hearings that you would, not hearings, budget meetings to discuss the budget, to get it to the point that it is something that you feel comfortable with approving. By legislation, we need to have that budget in place by June 30th. Okay, what David and I would tell you is once you get to the budget to the point that you would like it, we want the authorization to process or to develop the budget ordinance, David. And generally, we ask you to allow enough time to give us a week in order, or the majority of a week to get the budget ordinance in place. So the key thing is if you're open to having the meeting to deliver the budget on May 22nd at 4:00, then we would propose to have the public hearing on June, at the regular June board meeting. And then you can set the schedule with people taking vacations. Y'all, as a collective group, may want to talk sometimes about if there's any non-availability in June, so you can accommodate those schedules. If there's any questions, that is.
I'm good. Everyone okay?
I'm good with it.
All right, I think we'll do that. So we will recess to reconvene this meeting on Monday, May the 22nd. All right.
4:00.
All right. Any more questions? All right, we're good with that. All right, Mr. Causey, you're up again for the temporary targeted raises for the sheriff's office.
Yes, sir. I am basically going to read the background section that is in your agenda. Financial compensation for county employees in the sheriff's department in particular has been a grave concern for months. The county has authorized the completion of a market study to evaluate compensation for all employees. This study should be available in late May or June timeframe. It is the intent of the Board of Commissioners to promptly implement the study findings when received, reviewed, and approved. At the same time, we acknowledge that the Sheriff's Department and detention have been particularly hard hit with vacancies. Salary disparities are a significant part of the recruitment challenges. Heretofore, the county has utilized targeted raises on a temporary basis to deal with specific challenges until a complete market study can be completed. This effort can be effective. At the same time, this kind of effort could lead to misunderstanding if everyone involved does not understand that the effort is temporary and intended to address a specific challenge. The sheriff has had grave concerns for his entire department for a considerable period of time. He has expressed the concern that he needed to tackle the salaries of his entire department. We respect that view. From the county's perspective, the market study is intended to create fairness for everyone. On March 8th, the county manager communicated with the sheriff and suggested to the sheriff that because vacancies were increasing and the market study is forthcoming, that he might wish to consider some targeted increases as a temporary measure. The sheriff agreed to evaluate. On April 11th, the specific recommendation was forwarded to the sheriff for his consideration. He reviewed the recommendation and met with the chairman and county manager on April 26th. The sheriff proposed several changes, and these changes were found to be reasonable. The sheriff has agreed to the attached proposal. This agreement, if approved by the board, is temporary until the new market study is implemented. And on your next sheet is the revised. And basically what we are doing is proposing a $4,200 increase for the deputy 1s, 2s, and 3s, and sergeants. No other positions on the sheriff's side would. And then we're doing a $2,400 raise for the detention, 1, 2s, and 3s, and the detention sergeant, and no positions above that. This proposal will affect 71 positions in the sheriff's department and 42 positions in the detention center. And if calculated, way we calculated, it would potentially cost us $87,000 for May and June, and we are asking that this proposal be retroactive to May 1st.
Okay, any questions? So, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We got a motion, a second. Any further discussion? One thing I do want to say, we're offering the same thing to the other departments for the harder-to-fill positions. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, we have.
Okay, and this has been, for some time, this has been on the table, is correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Any more questions, discussion? All in favor, say aye, or raise your hand. All right, this passed unanimous. All right, good deal. Mr. Causey, Newton Grove Rescue Squad.
Yes, sir. What you have before you is a letter dated April 18th, 23 that we sent to the Newton Grove. As many of you know, we've had some general discussion with a number of you individually. We have had some challenges with our nonprofit rescue squads in general, and quite frankly, the challenge is being able to have a time commitment. And then if you're going to spend that time at a nonprofit, do you want to work full-time and work for one of the paid services? In any circumstances, for any of our nonprofits, operations have clearly been a challenge. We have worked particularly with the Newton Grove group for the past year, and last year they met with our emergency management staff and set up some criteria that we wanted to operate, and basically those criteria have not been met, and that's basically outlined in number 3. And number 1 and 2 are also some concerns. Quite frankly, to our knowledge, the rescue squad does not have active members, which really qualifies them for the state. We had written them in middle of April and asked them for a response by Friday. We did not receive some. We had already suspended financial compensation to them until we got a response. And since we have not had a response, we are recommending that we just go ahead and cancel the contract. And I think, Joel, we have to give them a 90-day notice.
If it's without cause, yeah, 90 days.
Okay. Any questions?
So we still had to fund it for 90 days while they're,
We have already.
We've already stopped
We've
funding.
already suspended payments pending getting the information that was required.
thank you.
So, all right. Any other questions? Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion. Do as a recommendation from Mr. Causey.
All right, got a second? All in favor, raise your hand. Motion's passed. All right, this time I'll turn over to Vice Chair Sue Lee.
I move that we reappoint Amber Halstead, Jeff Nethercutt, and Robbie James to serve another 3-year term on the Sampson County Economic Development Advisory Board. Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
All right. All right. Any questions on the consent agenda? Anyone have any questions or concerns? Hearing none, I will accept the motion to approve.
So moved.
Got a second? All in favor, raise your hand. All right, so that's passed unanimous as well. Mr. Causey, County Manager's report.
Mr. Chairman, I actually have several things that I would like to reference, and probably will take me a few minutes to complete everything. The first thing is, sometimes people do not recognize that towns and counties can actually cooperate and work together. And the first thing I would like to do is give a shout out to the city of Clinton for their help. When we were getting ready to erect the radio tower, we had a circumstance where there was some more field that needed to be done, and quite frankly, the tower was here, and the people had come a long ways to erect it, and we were under the short straws to be able to do that. Our contractor actually took the superintendent and some of their management staff that actually did some of the work out there. Mark Turlington and his crowd did a yeoman's job of coordinating and doing some of the work out there. But one of the things that facilitated it is, I believe, the city of Clinton made available some large equipment that helped us excavate the materials to get it out there in a timely fashion. And I think everybody's role was important, but I think we would have been well short had we not had the effort from the city of Clinton. So I would like to recognize the city of Clinton for what they had done. And I don't want to leave anybody out. Mark, the contractor, Rick, staff, and everybody, they just did a yeoman's job. I think we determined we had a problem on a Tuesday morning thereabouts, and I think by Thursday afternoon, this problem was fixed and put to bed, and away we went. So I was extremely proud of that effort. The second thing I would like to mention for just a minute is we are working, or our contractor is working on the market study, and we hope that it is completed in the late May, early June timeframe. However, Ms. Dillman, I think they have shared with us that they have had challenges getting some of the responses back, and they are working very hard to see if they can get those responses so they can meet our timeframe. But this is a busy time of year. And I think Ms. Dillman would tell you, when she gets requests for those kinds of responses, it's not something you fill out in 15 or 20 minutes. It generally takes a while. But we will keep you apprised of that. The third thing I want to mention is our emergency management building. Basically, it is fully occupied with the exception of the 911 staff. And we have some technical issues that we've got to resolve from an equipment standpoint and whatever. And we hope that the building will be fully occupied by mid to late summer. Is that right, Rick? Okay. However, we still have some challenges with some of the equipment and getting it in and getting it operating and getting it ordered in place. And we hope we will get that done as quickly as possible. But I think it is likely that we will need to utilize some of the tower facilities we've got at the existing building for several months, and it could be late in the year before we have made a complete transfer. Is that correct, Rick? Which is going to bring me into my next subject that I want to talk about for just a minute. The other thing that is pending relative to that existing building is the fact that we got various people that use it for storage, and have got some materials that are important that they store over there. Well, we are building a new storage building that we do not anticipate will be finished and ready for occupancy until plus or minus the Thanksgiving timeframe. So quite frankly, to completely vacate that building, I'm saying it will be at least Thanksgiving, if not a little bit later, before we're ready to move forward with any kind of discussions on anything else. And when we talk about that building, I think the board wanted us to research and see what the options were and be ready to come back to the board. So if anybody thinks we're jumping the gun and gonna do anything, Mr. Godwin, without the full concurrence and discussion of the board, I can assure you that is not going to happen. So we will be prepared to do that. One of the questions that has come up that I regret or apologize for not getting that question answered fully enough before now. But in any circumstance, one of the questions that has come up is the Veterans Memorial Park that is there at that facility. From the beginning, I can pretty much assure you from the standpoint of county administration's recommendation, we are not going to recommend anything that either does not protect that park in place where it is, or if worse comes to worse, relocate it to an equal or nicer location, fully intact the way it is. So there is no intention on anybody's part, and there's no action that we can take to do anything without coming back before the board. So people that think, anybody that might think, Ms. Letha, that we're trying to get ahead or to jump ahead, that is just not going to happen, Mr. Godwin. You will have the full opportunity once we come back to have a wide-ranging discussion on anything that you would like relative to that. At this point in time, I would not foresee having any such discussion until the August, September timeframe if we think we're operating on the same timeframe. So we can just put it out there as to where we are, okay? The final subject I want to talk about, which is I find a little bit interesting, is our project at Ivanhoe, okay? I have been here in the county for 13 years, and I worked for USDA for almost 39 years. And when I was with USDA, one of my tours of duty included Sampson County back in the early 1980s. And during that time frame, we were working with the people down at Harrell's and developing a water system, and we're having all kinds of discussions with people about expanding the water system. Well, unfortunately, because of the density of population and the number of people, number of users you needed per mile, it just made it virtually impossible. So it was hard. My point in all of the discussion is to say, if I was going to credit anybody or anything for this project, I would have to congratulate the entire community for their efforts in trying to help bring this project about. And I'm going to explain to you why I think. To say that individuals have not been important would be foolhardy, but I want to share a little bit of information for people to better understand why it has taken so long to get to the point that we are. For example, one reason that nothing has had this, in my tenure, this is a one-time anomaly that has occurred to be able to get a $13 million grant for water. In my years with USDA, the best that I ever remember we could do was 75%. And by the time we got out of the 90s, those 75% grants had dwindled down to 45% at best, and I think that's largely due to a lot of areas. But any circumstance, just give you a few numbers. If you take $13,283,000 and we're projecting 300 users, that would be a user cost of $44,276. If we were then financing that at 3% for 20 years, you would have a monthly user cost of $61.38 before you got operating cost on that. And that's at a 75% grant. If for some reason we were only able to get 200 users, then you're talking about a cost of $16,604 per user and a monthly charge at 3% interest of $92.15. So in those rates, more than likely, by the time you got operating cost involved in it, you would be well over $100. So there it goes. When you talk about all of the people that have had a hand in it, I can tell you that number one, our engineers have worked closely for us for years. David Ross and Matt West and Mark Turlington. We have had numbers of discussions over the years. I have talked to Matt West and Turlington in years past about the ability to develop a project down there that we could work out that was affordable. And it could not be done until this came out. Yes, there were lots of people that called, but during the same period, with the encouragement of this board, and this entire board as a group gets to take a lot of credit, because I think I get the impression that you all like free money. Money that doesn't cost you, money with no strings. And I don't have too many conversations with too many of you that you don't say, well, how about going out looking for what you can get that doesn't cost anything? Yeah. In Miss Letha Lee's case, I knew her for a number of years when she worked with Extension, okay? And I can tell you, long before we ever talked about this water system per se, she would call me every year at budget time to talk about the needs of Harrells and Ivanhoe and the entire southern end of the county. So if I had ever wanted to forget what was going on in the southern part of the county, Miss Letha Lee was not going to allow that to happen. At the same time, I tell you that we have had numerous people over the last couple of years, and the last year in particular, from Ivanhoe that have come up. They've been very respectful and talked about the needs and what they wanted. And I would tell you that collectively, and the community leaders and others that I have not mentioned by name, they all need to be saluted. So I would tell you, in my history of working with public water, I have never seen a project develop that had more local support and more community support than this Ivanhoe project. So when people call me and say, well, who do you consider to be responsible for getting this project? I would say any and everybody that lives in the community. So I would like to salute everybody from the Ivanhoe community relative to this. We have got an engineering firm that has done wonderful work. I can go back 13 years and can tell you that we have had conversations with them about reaching out and what could we do that is affordable. Our water system is an enterprise fund, which basically we want it to operate based on the revenues that it receives, so it is important that we be fiscally responsible when we do that. But in any circumstance, my whole point was when people want me to answer the question, who is responsible for this project, I would say the entire community as well as the governor and the legislature and all of the people that have provided this money. And I know you are tired of me talking.
I'm gonna ask all the Ivanhoe residents to stand up. We appreciate all the accolades and everything, but we most of all appreciate the water. And we know the first one we need to thank is God, because He is the head of everything. And then we come second. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, we've come to our public comment section. Ms. Shannon, will you read our statement?
In accordance with the North Carolina General Statutes, we have a period of time reserved for comments from the public that are not covered in our agenda tonight. Speakers will be called forward in the order that they registered, address the board from the lectern, and begin by stating their name and address. Each speaker is allotted 3 minutes for comments. The light on the lectern will turn yellow with 1 minute remaining and will turn red and chime when the allotted time is up. We ask that when your time is up, you promptly conclude your comments and return to your seat. If time allows, after the folks who registered beforehand are finished up, we'll allow other people to make public comments as time allows. The public comment section is intended as a forum for the board to listen to citizens, and there should be no expectation that the board will answer any questions. A full copy of these policies and procedures is available at the registration desk as well as on our website.
Thank you, ma'am. The duly adopted rules of procedure and conduct for meetings of the Sampson Board of Commissioners sets the standards of decorum for its members, our staff, and for those in attendance. In these rules, we pledge to the citizens of Sampson County our respect, and we ask our citizens to likewise conduct themselves in a respectful, courteous manner, both with board members and fellow citizens. Receiving input from our citizens is an integral part of our meetings and critical for the board's ability to make sound, prudent decisions that are responsive to the needs of our communities. Offered with civility, such inputs is very appreciated by this board. However, for our adopted policy, commenters shall not use profanity, shall not engage in slander or impertinent or personal attacks as they offer public comments. Any input which is offered in the form of a rude personal criticism of an individual is not only unwarranted and unnecessary, it is simply not helpful in our deliberations. We appreciate your compliance with these standards and decorum. All right, the first person, Mr. Flanovich, will you please come up?
My name is Marshall Flatovich. I live 410 Beaver Dam Drive, Clinton, North Carolina. I'm a 78-year-old Vietnam War veteran, and I'm here tonight representing veterans. And at this time, I'd like to ask the veterans to please stand. Okay, commissioners, this is your voters that are veterans. And the purpose of my, so you go ahead and have your seats back. The purpose tonight, I had not intended to speak, but when they come in and the young lady asked, did I want to speak? I said yes. So I won't take long. You know, as a veteran, we feel like a lot of times we're not asked our opinions on things. We're told what's going on, but yet, if you notice, when there's a war, we're asked to go to war, and we go without question. There's some people in here that's been in hand-to-hand combat. I was in the Vietnam War. I didn't have the hand combat, but we were there. We're a dying breed if you look at us and just look at our age and so forth. And then I want to, because I know we got 3 minutes, Mr. Causey made a remark about working with the city on some projects. Well, we have a project in the Veterans Park at the old 911 section. I would request that the commissioners direct Mr. Causey to work with the city of Clinton and come up with an idea that we can preserve that Veterans Park. Now, my dad has a brick out there. I have a brick out there. We have our Memorial Day out there. It's just a place we like. I appreciate your concern, Mr. Causey, about relocating to a nice place. But I would imagine the majority of the veterans in here would tell you, do not relocate. You know, bases renamed, statues removed. We need to keep our park where it's at. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Flanovich. Elaine Hunt?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Elaine Hunt. I reside at 7171 Old Warsaw Road, Turkey. And I come with a repetitive request. Please do something to assist us in eliminating the brown water on Old Warsaw Road. I was told to take a poll of the group to see how many of you will enjoy drinking the type of water that I usually bring. Didn't bring it this afternoon, but I already know the answer to that. I'm coming before you month after month, and I'm seeing no one responding back. But I'm not going to give up. We're not going to give up on this effort because water is a necessity, and we need clean drinking water like others have. The water is undrinkable. The washing of white clothes is out of the question. And I hope you realize how serious the problem is, because it is a serious problem, and we need help. We need something done with the water on Old Warsaw Road. As I said before, we are not looking handouts, but we looking helping hands to assist us as you have helped so many others. Thank you for your time, your attentive ear, and thank you for consideration to the people on the opposite side of Timberlake on Old Warsaw Road. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hunt. Clema Muir?
They want 3 minutes to get here. I did want to say, I didn't realize this was even being considered to move this memorial. And I certainly hope, Mr. Collins, that this will not be moved to any other place. You know, when you got a prime location, you got a prime location. And I believe that's what this is. And it's really it's really a good thing to be able to have at least half of that parking lot in that Veterans Memorial, so you can have a ceremony there. And Gerald, I've been in this town, I got married in this town in 1966. I've been here ever since. Now, I went to Vietnam and from Gates County, up northeastern part of the state, but I'm a part of this county. No, I didn't want my brick up there. I'd be glad to put one, but I want my brick here. Matter of fact, didn't realize, I thought I'd missed a date. I gave Ann a check for my copy, for my brick out there. Out there is where the location is, Mr. Causey. And I would appreciate your concern. As Marshall just says, we don't ask a lot, but we've been asked a lot of. And we'd appreciate your consideration on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Cleveland. Ms. Knowles?
Ann Knowles, 618 Hornrine Road, not Honrine, it's Hornrine Road, Clinton. I gave you a little bit of what I felt last month about how important the park is, but you don't really know how we started that park. There's a big memorial for Mr. Getty Herring, Sampson County's only Medal of Honor recipient, in the middle of that park. Those beautiful flagpoles, the JCs, that is no longer in Clinton, bought those, erected them, and dedicated them to that park. That's why that park, there's a lot of history in that park. We had all hog slat, put all the concrete there, no cost to us. We had people that Marshall Thornton brought a group in. The first bricks were laid. It was friends of his that laid the bricks. And we've had family members of veterans that have laid the bricks thereafter. It is very, very personal to the veterans in this county. And I've known Mr. Causey since he's been here, and I believe when he tells me that he's going to try to keep that there. And Mr. Causey, we appreciate that. But we do need some room to have our group at that first parking, that first driveway to the memorial, straight across. We could be happy. We could extend our park as we need to, and that's the reason we left grass between it, so we could lay more concrete and add more bricks. But we appreciate y'all, and I thank all my veterans, my vet council. We're all in this together, and we're not against anybody. We just want to keep what we feel is very important to the veterans in this county and to the widows that's lost their husbands, the children that's lost their dads for that. So we'd appreciate all consideration that you can give us. And thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Knowles. Let's see, Whitney Parker?
Good evening, everybody. I have two items. The first item I want to discuss is, Whitney Parker, 7745 Roseburg Highway. We filed an appeal for the proposed name change to Ben Road. Just for transparency, I wanted to know that we did file an official appeal. Second item is in reference to the toxic waste dump. I want to recommend or propose to the board that they have a series of sessions for the residents to come and express the effects on the landfill and their families, their health, and just how it affects the Stowe community in general. And that's all I have. I want to forward my minutes to anybody. Come by me. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Larry Williams?
Larry Williams, 336 Chester Road. Hope everybody's doing great this afternoon. My concern is the landfill in Sampson County, well, in our neighborhood. There's a lot I could say, but we all done read and heard about what the effects of it is. I would just like to say that we are dying over there. I just had a tumor removed off my kidney. It was cancerous. And my aunt had to move out to Maryland. She went to go for a month because she kept having stomach trouble. And the doctors couldn't figure it out. She just came back last week. But I just want to just let her know that we are dying there. I mean, y'all heard about the vinyl chloride, how much it's putting out per day. And you can't see it, you can't smell it, but we are breathing it every day. So, thank you for your time.
Thanks, sir. All right, Mr. Sutton, Larry Sutton.
Good evening, commissioners and fellow citizens. I have three things I want to touch on. The first, my address is 4761 Bearskin Road, Clinton, North Carolina, and my name is Larry Sutton. My first concern is I should have done this when I first spoke to the board some while back, is to acknowledge three of my former students. The first one is Mr. Thaddeus Godwin, 1972. I was doing my student teaching at Clinton High School when I met him as a student. And Mr. David Clark, some years later. And most recently, Mr. Joel Starling, who's the board attorney. So these were former students of mine, great students of mine, and it's pleasing to see you young folks involved in county government for the people of Sampson County. Secondly, I want to thank the board for adopting the consent item F on your agenda. That item addresses Juneteenth as a federal holiday, and also it expresses the county's support for having this countywide celebration annually on June 19th. Thank you, commissioners. Thank you, Mr. Manager Causey. My last point is the county landfill. The landfill has been a nuisance for quite a long time, going back some 50 years when it first opened. And lastly, it is a fundamental right to have good health. And the landfill is a threat to the good health of the folks who live in the Snow Hill community. The county should do something to help monitor and keep this landfill from becoming a greater nuisance than it is already. So tonight, I implore you to use your influence to make the landfill more conducive to the folks who live in the Snow Hill community. They have suffered and endured enough from the landfill's presence in that once vibrant community that's now almost a ghost community. So again, please do your part to help make this area a more wholesome place to live. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr.
And
Sutton.
madam.
Mr. Parsons?
Good evening. Gene Parsons, 305 Deer Track Trail, Clinton. I came with more questions, and I realized it's a comment tonight. But you need to really think about this memorial being relocated. That piece of property out there is, as we all know, is wet. And about the only piece of that property that is above water when it rains is that memorial. The rest of it's swampland, just about. That's why we have a new building. So, in respect to my questions not being answered, but I'm sure they will be, about this, before it's voted on or decided upon. I'd just like to say that we need to really think hard, and I'm sure you all guys will, and ladies, to not relocate it. It's a lot of people giving their life. My father-in-law's is one of them. And just like to see it stay where it's at. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Parsons. All right, that concludes our public comment section. So at this time, we'll recess to reconvene on May 22nd. Thank you.
4 o'clock in the administrative building.
In administrative building, yeah. Thank you for coming.
Second.
Do we have to vote on it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll second.
All in favor?